Hello, dear hearts. Thank you so much for tuning into my work on Enlightened, Lineages, and Masters in Astrology. On this day, I would like to share with you the stars of His Holiness, the 16th Karmapa. And as I delve into this star map, I would like you to know that it is an honor to be able to even slightly, even just for a millisecond, be able to connect in this way with such an extraordinary being, stars, and be able to provide this information to everybody to tune into and receive, and through it connect even deeper with His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. You could also look into him by searching the name Rangjung, Rigpe Dorje, and I'm quite sure that you'll be so deeply, I think pleased is the right word, with everything that you find in relation to his lives and miraculous displays. He passed on and left this earth, this domain, in the early 80s. So we can say he's a very recent realized master, enlightened master of our time. And there's an excellent book, actually, regarding all his students and their relationship to him. Many of his students were featured in the book, recently published, wherein you can connect with those who have had these direct experiences with him and, I guess, further understand the greatness which is His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. The book is called The Miraculous 16th Karmapa, and it's by Norma Levine, and you can easily get access to this book. The subheading is Incredible Encounters with the Black Crown Realized Master, Enlightened One. So I actually remember being in India when some of these interviews were taking place, my father being one of the people whom has had a connection to the 16th Karmapa, very strong connection, and one of the secretaries had said, we should try and organize your dad to get into that book, but it was too late at the time. The second I got my hands on it, I was, so grateful, because it's incredible what each and every person goes through when they embark on the truth seeker's quest, and how unique the contribution is to the tapestry of the collective situation. So everyone somehow was connected to this great being, but the way their unique contribution flew into the centerpiece of that mandala is a remarkable thing. And I think it goes this way with every enlightened and realized master from all the different times. The stories of those who sought out the truth and did everything to obtain it, especially embarking on that teacher-student relationship following a realized being. It's just incredible and inspiring to learn and hear from the tales and encounters of others. So anyhow, I'm going to get right into this star map. When I got my hands on all the details for His Holiness the 16th Karmapa's birth to be able to provide this star maps information, before I even had the first glance, I knew that there would be something exceptional taking place in the 6th house, linked to animals and pets, because of the nature of knowing His Holiness's relationship to the animal realm, and just how much he did, and how he was, you could say, like a horse whisperer, one who could commune in all the different lands and universes linked to the animal realms, and be able to know the language. And it was something that everybody was always blown away by, the celestial component to just seeing him in that natural element of being one with the animals. And many would even say, that it wasn't even animals in their eyes. It was as though he was in the presence of divine beings that he had found and brought back to his kingdom. So I will start with the opening statement talking about his moon in the 6th house in Aquarius, which is a very futuristically driven, humanitarian, massive-hearted and placed concern to the underprivileged, to those who have lesser, to the lesser realms, which is indeed realms like realms that are extreme suffering, also the animal realms, which of course go through a lot of suffering because human realm is obviously at the top of the food chain. So all the underprivileged departments and realms on this earth, and the sphere of the animal world was where he would put so much care and attention towards, and be able to sense the suffering and pain of animals from far, far away and rescue them and help them. So it was to no surprise to see the moon placed in that house. And the moon in Aquarius there also talks about his responsibilities and daily commitment to everything he had to do. So he was indeed, in his own unique and spontaneous and unpredictable way, a very powerful and available force to what had to be done, what his commitments were. And again, in Aquarius, it was very much about the collective. It was very much about the masses, the communities, the world as a whole, and not just the details that we would hone in on in an everyday mundane situation. He had that bigger view and visionary understanding, as well as a very inventive way to find means to also support and care for so many beings. So then we look at something that also didn't surprise me, is that he has a stellium, concentrated energy, in the constellation of Leo. And so much of that is going on in the 1st house, with his ascendant in Leo too. So you can imagine that the glory, being gloriously renowned, would come very naturally to one incarnated with such stars. And also his relationship to himself, having concentrated energy there, being part of his destiny, and being a spiritual leader, Sun conjunct, clean conjunction with Neptune, with a 2-degree separation there to Neptune and the Sun, his directional node, his north node, and the ascendant being right there, very well placed next to all of these in an intimate conjunction. So, being a spiritual leader, his own relationship to himself and the role of what that meant, and the identity he had to be, who he had to be, and, wearing this title of who he was born to be regally, with so much royalty, regal, naturally having the appreciation and validation of the masses, not being disliked by anything or anyone because of his natural sincerity and generosity that without even words one could sense, because it was something radiating. Just as the sun rules Leo, imagine the brightest sun blazing right in front of your eyes. You would feel so warm, so cared for, what words would be needed. And yes, when it came to things like family and the home and ancestry and heritage and roots and all of that which was connected to his homeland, Jupiter in this area linked to the constellation of Sagittarius talks to me about such immense respect for the homeland, for the lineage linked to birthplace, birthright, and what that kingdom meant to him, and how much of that went into every breath and every step that he took on this earth and that incarnation. Mind you, Jupiter being there also implies that there were many masters in his own family, in his own ancestry, by blood, no doubt. And he himself had a very big family, soul family, with many, many teachers, many masters, and he himself being a master to many. Jupiter there implies natural connection to teachers, to true, enlightened lineage holders and seers, and them being very close to home and also providing a home for many, many masters, which he definitely did do that. Yes, there were important key relationships in his life. He had, important representations that were in his life, part of the holding and I guess upholding is the right word, all that he was doing, the lineage. And in that way, seeing Venus conjunct Pluto, you can imagine the intensity of the relationships and the nature of the relationships, but also the deaths that came suddenly to heart family-like members, written there very much in this Pluto-Venus conjunction, which the way it is aspecting the star map did make it quite hard, because when it came to his role, even though he wore it, the reincarnation, the role of what he was birthed into, he wore it and he was that, exactly what it needed to be. As I mentioned, that solar blazing potency, not leaving out a single being. There was also, I guess, that wound of having to face the adversity, the difficulty in things linked to the way, the lineage, the way, all that what he gave to this earth continued on, and in many ways knowing about these wounds and where the failures would have fell at a very earlier stage, being very aware of them, but having to heal the masses through whatever hardship and mishaps came through in the areas mentioned. So working with those wounds to heal the masses. So the enlightened quality here, the way through was very sudden, with Uranus and Pisces, but also in the most kindest way. Imagine a wave of all the love of this earth pouring over you, and you don't know how to stop weeping because your heart aches in some kind of glee, because something in you that no one has ever been able to touch is touched. It's touched, and it makes you yearn for better things. It makes you want better things, things that have more meaning. And you realize that the very best part of you has been hidden, covered up, left to rot because you never gave time to nurture it or see it. Well, no one could hide that part that needed touching in their being in the presence of such a master. That Piscean Uranus energy knew exactly where to go within the being of whoever came to his presence to ensure that he would be indeed bringing out their most beautiful pieces, their most beautiful points. And I think Uranus in Pisces also, the way it was activated here and the way it is seen here, is giving this chance also for others to suddenly know what to say and how to speak through his presence about their needs, their wants, where they are in their lives. You know, for example, imagine you're lost, you don't know where to walk, and suddenly a being like this comes in your presence and you have all the answers. You know where to go, you know what your best moment was, where you can draw the most significant inspiration, why you weren't able to do it before and why you feel better now. So it was an instant clarity bringing presence and force that did it in a way that was so tender, wherein you could call it being in the presence of the most alchemical and kind doctor or physician that didn't even have to touch you to heal your deepest pain and restore you to this pulse of life, the kind of life that encourages the best kind of things. The heart, right? The heart. So being so Leo, infused and very much driven by the heart. His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. This was indeed one of the infinite blessings that he gave, and his style of awakening very much in the way described, because the boundless ability of being able to be in any situation with any type of person in any given circumstance and be very present, very available to that place, circumstance, or person. Again, without having to say anything. Knowing how to be, really be. And in that way, truly serving this universe, which we call home. His relationship to the oceans, our seven seas, were very, very important. And he did travel across many of those. And in his star map, you can see being very active in forming the right relationships in his lifetime in order for many, many important travels to take place. But again, his relationship to our seven seas was very important. And I'm sure there are many of you who are listening to this who will understand what this means better than I do. But a lot of the miracles I think that he was able to perform happened in our seas and in our oceans, in oceans that we probably don't even know exist. But he was very aware of each and every one of them and all the beings within them and all beings throughout time and space. So I'm very grateful that I get to share an introduction, I guess, an opening statement, just at first glance on His Holiness the 16th Karmapa star map. And I'm very grateful that you were all interested to hear this. So with all my heart, thank you. Thank you so, so much. Karmapa Channel.